Reflecting on the creation of David Bowie's album Heroes, it's clear that its legacy stems not just from its music, but also from the unique creative process behind it. Collaborating with Brian Eno and Tony Visconti, Bowie engaged in spontaneous creation during recording sessions. These sessions led to tracks composed on the spot in the studio. The creative frenzy, fueled by the success of Iggy Pop's Lust for Life, gave birth to an album brimming with electrifying passion. The creation of the album was marked by an extraordinary speed and spontaneity. Visconti's method of keeping a continuous two-track tape running during rehearsals proved invaluable, capturing fleeting moments of inspiration and preventing creative ideas from slipping away. Brian Eno was astonished by the effortless flow of ideas, expressing bewilderment at how easy the process seemed. This rapid pace extended to the overdubbing stage, where Robert Fripp, without prior knowledge of the songs, improvised lead guitar lines for the entire album in a mere 3 days. Fripp's playing received significant praise from Visconti and Eno, who were impressed with his ability to play for songs he'd never heard before with such virtuosity. Recorded at Hansa Studio 2 in West Berlin, situated just yards away from the imposing Berlin Wall, the studio's historical backdrop infused the creative process with a palpable sense of urgency and tension. Tony Visconti vividly recalls the atmosphere, with Russian Red Guards watching through binoculars and the looming presence of barbed wire and mines, lending a provocative and stimulating energy to the sessions. Despite the somber atmosphere, the recording process was invigorating, described by Visconti as one of his last great adventures in album production. In the album Heroes, David Bowie uses quotation marks in the title to suggest a complex view of heroism, indicating that it should be approached with skepticism. Tony Visconti, the album's producer, described the album as heroic, reflecting a positive period in Bowie's life and the collective sense of accomplishment during its creation. This suggests that heroism can be found in personal growth and creative expression, not just in traditional acts of bravery. The album explores themes of identity, self-discovery, and existentialism, inviting listeners to reflect on their own understanding of heroism. Through its music and lyrics, Heroes celebrates the transformative power of art and encourages listeners to recognize the heroism within themselves. Beauty and the Beast, which is the opening track on the album, delves into themes of inner conflict and transformation, exploring the struggle against darkness. The first 30 seconds present a chaotic blend of piano, guitar, electronics, and vocals, gradually building to a powerful climax, evoking a sense of imminent transformation likened to the transformation of the fictional character in the song. The song opens with a simple piano pattern featuring Bowie playing a dyad primarily consisting of E and G, along with occasional notes, typically A. This pattern persists through the song, creating a recurring motif. Robert Fripp's guitar enters the mix in the third bar, its treatment reminiscent of his work on Brian Eno's Sky Soar. Fripp's guitar work was spontaneously recorded in a single take upon his arrival at the studio. As the intro progresses, George Murray's bass line, accompanied by a repeating pattern of octaves on the piano, gains momentum, setting the stage for Bowie's vocal entrance. The cover of Heroes, inspired by German artist Erich Heckel's Rock'n'Roll, depicts Bowie with a frantic expression, his eyes wide and intense. He appears to be in a state of both seriousness and humor, with his body held stiffly and his hand raised as if he has just removed a mask of pretense from his face. The exploration of duality in Beauty and the Beast resonates with Heckel's portrayal of the human experience, where conflicting emotions and realities intersect. Heckel's artwork suggests a process of metamorphosis or emotional upheaval within the depicted figure, aligning with the song's thematic exploration of inner turmoil and transformation. Thematically, both the song and Heckel's artwork delve into the juxtaposition of beauty and ugliness. It's important to note that Bowie frequently explores themes of good versus evil throughout his career. It's intriguing to also consider the potential influence of Berlin on Bowie's artistic vision at this particular juncture. The contrasting dynamics of East Berlin versus West Berlin and the ideologies of communism versus democracy may provide another lens through which listeners can interpret the song's themes. The second song on the album, Joe the Lion, draws inspiration from the works and ethos of Chris Burden, An American artist known for his provocative performances, Burden crucified himself to a Volkswagen in 1974 and had an assistant shoot him in the arm during an art gallery performance in 1971. References to these events are found in the lyrics of Joe the Lion, such as "Nail me to my car and I'll tell you who you are," and "Guess you'll buy a gun, you'll buy it secondhand." Burden is quoted as saying, "The process of making art was an art itself." This philosophy on art, that it's not constrained by specific aims or objectives. Instead, it's a realm of unlimited creative potential where artists are free to explore and express themselves without limitations, was something very much in line with what Bowie was doing around the time of Heroes. Bowie, a reserved and refined Englishman by nature, may have also been drawn to the raw and wild energy embodied by figures like Chris Burden and Iggy Pop. In Joe the Lion, Bowie sings with admiration about someone being made of iron, likely referencing the endurance and strength exhibited by these artists. Recognizing that he couldn't replicate Burden's or Iggy's raw power, Bowie instead sought to channel the essence of artists like them into his own music. Inspired by Iggy Pop's improvisational vocal style on the track Lust for Life, Bowie entered the vocal booth without any pre-written lyrics. Instead, he spontaneously came up with a line or two, immediately singing them onto tape as they came to him. Bowie's vocal performance on the track is characterized by unpredictable fluctuations. He alternates between bellowing the title phrase in a blend of vowel sounds and leaving entire bars empty before cramming in a surplus of words, sometimes resulting in rapid-fire delivery. The lyrics of Joe the Lion serve as a direct transcript of Bowie's stream of consciousness during the recording session. For instance, the initial phrase, "couple of drinks," morphs into "couple of dreams," which then evolves into "you get up and sleep." This demonstrates Bowie's spontaneous wordplay and lyrical ideas in real time. Both Fripp and Alamar's guitar parts were subjected to processing and distortion by producers Eno and Visconti. The guitars are mixed together in a way that they interact dynamically, with moments where one guitar takes prominence while the other seems to taunt or challenge it. Bowie provided guidance to Fripp, suggesting that he play in a bluesy style reminiscent of Albert King. This directive likely influenced Fripp's guitar playing, resulting in the creation of the three-note hook that serves as one of the song's fundamental riffs. The story behind David Bowie's legendary song Heroes unfolded with the quiet drama of real life. The inspiration came from an affair involving producer Tony Visconti, who had developed feelings for singer Antonia Maas during the recording sessions in Germany. It was an encounter, witnessed by Bowie himself, a moment frozen in time as Visconti and Maas shared a kiss beneath the looming shadow of the Berlin Wall. Reflecting on the studio's proximity to the wall, Bowie pondered the peculiar choice of meeting place for the couple. Underneath a guard turret, he interpreted their rendezvous as a symbol of guilt and restriction, suggesting that they imposed limitations on themselves to justify their actions. The notion of heroism emerged not as something grandiose, but as a quiet defiance against the constraints of circumstance. Amidst the concrete barriers and barbed wire of the Berlin Wall, Bowie envisioned a narrative of love and defiance, encapsulated in the lyrics of the song. The songwriting process for Heroes was marked by a unique method of building layered tracks. Instead of immediately focusing on lyrics and melodies, Bowie and Eno first established a musical framework akin to constructing a frame before adding the picture. Bowie himself described a specific technique where he would limit himself to a set of 5 or 6 chords and then discipline himself to write within those constraints. Rather than relying solely on his emotional intuition, Bowie embraced this structured approach, allowing the chord progression to dictate the direction of the song. This method of dogma in songwriting encouraged experimentation and creativity within defined parameters, ultimately leading to unique compositions. For the song Heroes, Bowie initially presented a restricted chord progression to the band, who then expanded upon it, crafting an 8-minute groove. The song is known for its captivating vocals and Robert Fripp's mesmerizing guitar work. However, these elements are supported by a meticulously crafted rhythm track. The song maintains a steady and symmetrical rhythm, grounded in a dragging 4/4 beat and a simple 2-chord D to G progression. Carlos Alomar's guitar work stands out as a key element, characterized by an insistent and memorable riff that emphasizes the purity of the chord sequence. His controlled playing subdivides the song into 60-second segments, each housing a verse and chorus. The initial 33 seconds of each minute, Aylmar plays a straightforward three-tone riff. This riff serves as a foundational element, establishing the rhythm and setting the tone for the song's musical direction. Following this initial riff, Aylmar transitions to a more complex and elaborate melody. This change occurs after being introduced by one of Dennis Davis's drum fills, indicating a seamless transition between sections of the song. Finally, at around the 1-minute mark, Aylmar returns to the original basic riff. This serves to reinforce the song's rhythm section and maintain continuity throughout the composition. A shift to a more elaborate riff introduces Bowie's refrain, leading to the iconic "We Can Be Heroes" slogan. The final embellishment came from Robert Fripp. Fripp's guitar work added a soaring quality to the track, characterized by ethereal feedback loops. To achieve specific tones, Fripp marked designated spots on the studio floor, which, due to the size of the recording room, resulted in contrasting tones from each of the designated spots. Fripp's iconic guitar lines on the title track are perhaps his most memorable contribution to the album. His contribution adds a sense of grandeur and emotion to the song, perfectly complementing Bowie's impassioned vocals. Bowie's creative process drew from William Burroughs' cut-up method, a technique where snippets from various sources are reassembled to spark new ideas and imagery. In the iconic line, "We can be heroes," just for one day, Bowie juxtaposes heroism's grandeur with life's transience, suggesting that courage can emerge fleetingly. There are other interesting nuances. For example, in the song, Bowie contrasts royal imagery with moments of vulnerability, revealing the complexity of human connections. The lines, "I will be king," and you will be queen," exude regal majesty, while later lyrics like, "And you can be mean," and "I will drink all the time," delve into raw emotions and struggles. Quirky, poetic elements, such as "swimming like dolphins," add depth to the longing for freedom from mundane constraints, while the verse depicting kissing by the wall amidst gunfire evokes a sense of defiance in the face of danger. The 1916 painting Lovers Between Walls by Otto Miller served as both a visual and thematic inspiration for Bowie. Depicting two lovers embracing against weathered walls, the painting resonated with Bowie's observations of the divided city of Berlin during the Cold War era. The physical and ideological barriers represented by the Berlin Wall mirrored the theme of separation and longing portrayed in Muller's artwork. Bowie also drew inspiration from the short story A Grave for a Dolphin, written by Alberto Denti. In A Grave for a Dolphin, an Italian boy embarks on a journey to Africa, where he encounters a girl whose extraordinary bond with a dolphin captivates him. He is enamored by her ability to communicate and interact with the dolphin in a way he has never witnessed before. One day she has this very magical swim with the dolphin, but after, falls ill and eventually succumbs to her illness, withering away before his eyes. Devastated by her loss, the dolphin beaches itself near the boy's shack, mirroring the girl's fate. In an act of love and remembrance, the boy chooses to bury the girl and the dolphin side by side, despite facing ridicule and disbelief from the surrounding community. This experience profoundly and forever changes him, though he must conceal his inner transformation upon his return to Italy, maintaining the facade of his former self while carrying the weight of his grief and newfound wisdom. The saxophone intro to Sons of the Silent Age begins with a series of slow, mournful notes, gradually building in intensity as it progresses. It has a dark, almost ominous tone, providing the track with a foreboding quality. Harmonically, the verses maintain a steady presence, oscillating between two augmented chords, lending a sense of consistency to the song's framework. In contrast, the chorus introduces a richer chord progression in the key of E-flat. Bowie's vocals during the chorus soar in an epic register, accompanied by intricate vocal harmonies that amplify the song's grandeur. Sons of the Silent Age presents a dystopian narrative that reflects on the passage of time and societal decay. The phrase, "Sons of the Silent Age," suggests a generation that has grown up in a world marked by silence, perhaps implying a lack of communication or understanding among people. This theme of disconnect, is further emphasized by lines such as "Don't walk, they just glide in and out of life," and "Strung out on lasers and slashback blazers," which paint a picture of a generation that is detached, numb, and disconnected from the world around them. The lines "platforms," "blank looks," "no books," and "rise for a year or two, then make war" alluded to the Nazi regime. They never die, they just go to sleep one day. References Bowie's earlier song The Supermen from the album The Man Who Sold the World. In The Supermen, Bowie explores themes of immortality and the enduring legacy of powerful, godlike figures who continue to influence the world long after their physical demise. The song's clinical and intellectual style sets it apart from some of Bowie's more accessible songs. Rather than aiming for immediate catchiness, Sons of the Silent Age invites listeners to engage with its themes on a deeper level, prompting reflection on the state of the world and the passage of time. Blackout encapsulates the essence of darkly exhilarating sonic schizophrenia, a term coined by author Nicholas Pegg. Described by biographer David Buckley as featuring a backing verging on industrial, the song is characterized by music professor James E. Perrone as harrowing and the least accessible on the album. It showcases Bowie's experimental fusion of rock, electronic, and avant-garde elements, creating a dynamic yet abrasive listening experience. Fripp's guitar work on the track echoes his solo on Brian Eno's St. Elmo's Fire. However, it takes on a more discordant quality, reaching frequencies that verge on the piercing and seem almost intent on disrupting Bowie's vocal delivery. Carlos Alomar's guitar on the track, predominantly occupying the left channel, by contrast provides a grounded and steady presence. The drumming on the track stands out. Dennis Davis incorporated a conga into his drum setup for Blackout, using it both as part of the rhythm pattern and as a drum fill, which is particularly notable at the 1 and 2 minute marks into the song. Dennis Davis's drumming on the album Heroes often resembles a percussive orchestra, with intricate fills that might suggest numerous drum overdubs. However, it's remarkable that most of Davis's drumming is just him, captured live in the studio. As noted by producer Tony Visconti, Davis plays so many things at once, and yet it doesn't sound busy. V2 Schneider is a direct reference to Florian Schneider, a founding member of Kraftwerk. The track features elements reminiscent of Kraftwerk's signature style, particularly in its use of vocal phasing, a method of sound manipulation that alters the phase relationship between multiple copies of the same audio signal, creating a robotic or synthetic sound. The song's saxophone work, initially offbeat and remaining so throughout, was actually the result of an error during overdubs, with Bowie missing his cue. However, rather than rectify the mistake, Bowie chose to honor it, influenced by Brian Eno's Oblique Strategies cards, which advocate embracing artistic errors. The bass line, performed by George Murray, is the song's focal point and has a tense, dynamic, and driving presence within the track. Dennis Davis's snare fills, reminiscent of the synthetic percussion fills found in Kraftwerk's Trans-Europe Express, adds an analog counterpart to the electronic sounds. Bowie once suggested in an interview that Kraftwerk's music, characterized by its emotionless, rigid, and pristine qualities, evokes a sense of nationalism. He contrasts Kraftwerk's approach to music with his own, highlighting the human element present in his compositions, particularly emphasizing the contribution of his African-American rhythm section. V2 Schneider maintains a relatively conventional structure compared to other instrumentals on the album. Following the introduction, the track progresses through a series of 4-bar horn or guitar passages interspersed with 8-bar vocal choruses. Described as portentous and thoroughly foreboding, Sense of Doubt evokes a sense of unease in the listener. This mood is established through a descending 4-note piano motif that creates a sense of impending darkness. The eerie synth line adds to the haunting atmosphere, reminiscent of a silent expressionist-era soundtrack. Bowie and Brian Eno's collaborative process were guided by contrasting Oblique Strategies cards, Bowie's urging him to emphasize differences and Eno's prompting to make everything the same as possible. This tension is reflected in the composition, where a more hopeful motif is repeatedly overshadowed by the descending four-note piano motif, creating a foreboding atmosphere. The placement on the album of Sense of Doubt, followed by Moss Garden, effectively sets contrasting emotional dynamics. Sense of Doubt, with its dissonant intervals and unresolved tension, is in stark contrast to Moss Garden, which offers a calm meditative experience through tranquil ambience and gentle strumming of repetitive scale patterns. Despite their divergent tones, both tracks seamlessly transition into one another. The tension and dissonance of the former gradually gives way to the serenity and tranquility of the latter. Moss Garden finds its roots in David Bowie's encounter with the renowned Moss Garden of Saihoji, nestled outside Kyoto, Japan. Brian Eno enriches the track with textures that mirror nature's elements, distant thunder, wind, water, and birds, creating an immersive auditory experience. A moss garden is a unique type of Japanese garden characterized by an uninterrupted expanse of moss-covered ground. The flowing carpet of moss invites visitors to enter a dreamy and meditative state as they wander through. With each step, one's gaze is drawn from one variety of moss to another, creating a visually captivating experience. Clocking in at a delightful 5 minutes and 3 seconds, Moss Garden offers a serene and weightless journey for the listener. At its core lies the koto, a traditional Japanese instrument acquired by Bowie for the track. With amateur enthusiasm and restraint, Bowie delicately weaves repeating scale patterns into the song's fabric. The piece embodies a fusion of East and West, where synthesized airplane drones disrupt the traditional musings of the koto, echoing Japan's dual identity as both a modernist and traditional society. Despite its serene demeanor, Moss Garden gradually builds momentum, culminating in a subtle climax during its final minute, marked by a surge of synthesizers. Overall, Moss Garden stands as one of the most successful ambient compositions from Bowie and Eno's collaboration, serving as a captivating centerpiece within the broader Heroes album and the Berlin project as a whole. Situated as the last of 3 consecutive instrumentals on side 2 of the album, Neuköln reflects a district in Berlin, which it is named after. The music is often interpreted as capturing the sense of displacement experienced by the Turkish immigrants who populated the area, with influences from Edgar Froese's Mellotron-heavy album Epsilon in Malaysian Pale, which Bowie considered a soundtrack to his life in Berlin. Neuköln evokes a mood of desolation and melancholy, capturing the bleak and industrial landscape of the Neuköln district in Berlin. The song's somber melodies create a sense of isolation and alienation, reflecting the feeling of being a stranger in a foreign land. The mournful saxophone conveys a sense of longing and nostalgia, as if yearning for something that has been lost or left behind. Described by NME journalists Roy Carr and Charles Shah Murray as a mood piece, Neuköln evokes imagery of the Cold War through a lens of introspection, with Bowie's plaintive saxophone resonating across a harbor of solitude. The song begins with Brian Eno's synthesizer setting the mood, while Bowie's saxophone provides a contrasting element. As the song progresses, Bowie's saxophone gradually becomes more prominent. Bowie delivers a free-flowing and occasionally discordant alto saxophone performance, with hints of Ornette Coleman's avant-garde style evident in the song's climactic moments. He aimed to infuse the track with elements of Turkish music, utilizing a scale characteristic of Turkish modal music. He found it challenging to integrate this scale seamlessly within the song's context, which he humorously attributes to the use of whole notes, where typically half notes would suffice in the Turkish scale. Towards the end of the track, Bowie's saxophone delivers 2 wailing lines that echo the mournful synthesizer heard earlier in the song. The Secret Life of Arabia diverges from the album's prevailing tone. The track channels the improvised funk style reminiscent of Bowie's earlier works like Young Americans. Guitarist Carlos Alomar plays a significant role in shaping the song, earning a songwriting credit for his contributions. His guitar work features 2 distinct riffs that define the song's character, a harshly strummed opening riff and a disco-inspired riff for the choruses. These riffs, characterized by their concise and rhythmically incisive nature, contribute to the song's overall groove. Bassist George Murray's performance on the track is equally noteworthy, as his energetic bass line adds propulsion to the track. Murray's bass line, rooted in the song's underlying D minor vamp, provides a solid foundation for the other instrumental elements to build upon. Additionally, Bowie's vocals, which traverse a wide range from bass to falsetto, complement the instrumental arrangement, adding dynamic contrast. Despite its stylistic divergence from the rest of the album, The Secret Life of Arabia serves a purpose as the closing track of Heroes. Its placement hints at Bowie's future musical explorations. In 1977, David Bowie traveled extensively to England, the USA, Canada, France, Switzerland, the Netherlands, and Japan, facing his fear of flying. Additionally, living in Berlin during the recording of Heroes, Bowie was influenced by the city's diverse culture. This global exposure shaped the album, with tracks like Neuköln, and V2 Schneider reflecting Bowie's experiences in Germany, while songs like Joe the Lion and Blackout captured aspects of American life and culture. Moss Garden drew inspiration from Japan, and the album's final track hinted at Bowie's interest in the Middle East, foreshadowing the increased internationalism of Lodger. In 1976, Bowie arrived in Berlin broken, yet from the crucible of his struggles, he forged a path of personal and creative renewal, producing some of his greatest work while rebuilding his life from addiction. Bowie absorbed the city's tension, a place struggling to reconcile its past, yet offering a canvas for a better future. The exploration of themes such as identity and self-discovery in Heroes resonates with his transformative journey. The characterization of the album by Tony Visconti as heroic encapsulates a period of triumph for Bowie and a collective sense of accomplishment during its creation. The use of quotation marks in the title also suggests a more complex view of heroism, indicating that it should be approached with skepticism. This juxtaposition highlights the album's message that heroism transcends conventional notions, manifesting in personal growth and creative expression. Through the power of music and lyrics, Heroes becomes a testament to the transformative potential of art, inspiring individuals to discover the heroism within themselves amidst life's challenges and uncertainties.